was a kid, Halloween meant one thing: candy. Great heaping piles of candy. Now, I was most interested in chocolate. Hershey's Special Dark. That was my favorite. Any fans? Come on now. Yeah, that's the good one. But really, any chocolate would do. M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, Snickers, Milky Way, Three Musketeers, not Almond Joy. And there was other stuff too, like Bazooka bubble gum. Anybody remember that one? Zots, yeah. Sweet Tarts, wax lips. Were you supposed to eat them or wear them? No one knew. Mike and Ike, Pixie Sticks, Fruit Stripe Gum, Candy Buttons, Laffy Taffy, Pop Rocks, Now and Later, Starburst, Skittles, Nerds, Gummy Bears. I was there for all of it. The best haul I ever made was the year that my big brother's friends just handed me bags full of candy that they had collected. Yes. My parents made me share that with my kid sister. The injustice was overwhelming. Every year, the opportunity to be something was ambrosia, intoxicating. I loved dressing up as a monster. Some years my mom would help me make a costume. Those were really fun. I never liked wearing masks though. I was all about scary makeup. Vampire blood, fake tumors, bleeding cuts, horns. Every year was a different transformation. I'm not sure when all that ended, to be honest. Maybe I was 15 or 16, somewhere in there. I remember feeling sad. I remember thinking to myself, you know what? That last year, that was the last year. Now, one of the best perks of having kids of your own or borrowing your friends' kids is reliving Halloween. When my kids were about 1.5, we dressed them up in full-body monster suits and pushed them around in a stroller. They spent that entire evening pie-eyed, staring at all the costumes wandering around them. By the next year, things got really rolling. We'd set them loose in a fairy, as a fairy and as a dinosaur, let them loose on the neighborhood. They didn't make it very far before their little legs gave out, but the wonder and joy on their faces, that is something I hope I never forget. This 3-day period, from October 31st through November 2nd, that period's been considered special for a very long time. As you know, October 31st is celebrated by modern pagans as the festival of Samhain. This is the third and final harvest before winter. Now, it is entirely unclear how long Samhain has been celebrated, at least as Samhain. The earliest records that mention it specifically are Irish, and those date to the 9th century. Like Beltane, which is celebrated on the last night of April, Samhain is one of those liminal holidays, one that sits between two different astronomical events. In this case, Samhain sits halfway between the fall solstice and the winter equinox. Now, as one of these in-betweener kind of dates, something marking out a halfway point between other holidays, tradition has it that the worlds of the natural and the worlds of the supernatural are thinnest at that point. And it is then, precisely then, that the fey creatures, like the Sidhe, the fairies, the sprites, the goblins, the trolls, and all the things that go bump in the night, monsters, are said to sneak into our world and roam about freely. And that is why we wear costumes. Our disguises are meant to trick these spooky visitors into thinking We are one of them. We give treats to any who ask, because we never know who it is that is doing the asking. It's all good, clean, pagan fun. Well, fun for everyone, except those that get dragged off to the land of fairy, never to be seen again. The common name for October 31st is, of course, All Hallows Evening. Yeah, right? All Hallows Evening. Say that 100 times fast, and apparently you get Halloween. According to our Google overlords, from the 4th century on, the church has been celebrating Christian martyrs. For those of you taking notes for the exam, martyrs are those poor folks that died for their faith in Jesus Christ. Now, problem was back then, there were a lot of martyrs, and that meant a lot of holidays. Pope Gregory IV, in what seems perhaps an act of desperation crossed with a spark of genius, crossed, you get it? Crossed, Pope, crossed. These are the jokes, people. Anyway, the Pope officially made November 1st the feast day that was set aside for all of the saints together, all at once. Nice and simple. This then became All Saints' Day, the day for all the holy folks, or All Hallows. Now, how does Halloween come in? Halloween, the night before All Hallows. Well, from Judaism, obviously. And I'm kidding, but only in part, right? Because you'll remember that in the Jewish tradition, a day, the actual day, the markings of a day start not at midnight, but at sundown the night before, right? Sundown to sundown, that's a day. And so in liturgical celebrations, church celebrations, especially the ones that are old, like All Hallows, those celebrations actually started the night before, on All Hallows Eve, or Halloween. Ta-da! The more you know, right? Now, All Hallows is actually a 3-day holiday in many Christian traditions. Halloween, All Saints, and All Souls. That last one we don't hear much about, being Unitarian Universalists. But if you're Catholic, you may, or come from a Catholic background, you may remember the commemoration of all the faithful departed. Right? Ever heard that one before? The faithful departed. Or perhaps it's just the Day of the Dead. This is a day for prayer and remembrance for all the Christian faithful who have accepted Jesus Christ as their personal Savior and have been saved, or so they say, and they have then, since, in some time in the past, departed this realm. Prayer and remembrance is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be thoughtful, quiet, and actually the whole thing comes off as kind of sad. That's very pious to be sad, apparently. And I want to suggest, though, that this is more than a little disappointing. Really, the Day of the Dead doesn't really have to be such a downer. And this is kind of where I want to close today with my homily. What I want to lift up is that our neighbors from Mexico do this very different from what we boring Americans do. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the celebration Dia de los Muertos. Yes? Anyone? The Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. What makes Dia de los Muertos different from the traditional somber Christian holiday is the joy, the fun, the mystery, and the magic. Combining the celebration of the great cloud of ancestors and the gifts that they made us, that they gave us. They made for us in this world, and they made this world for us. In Mexico, and wherever the Mexican diaspora happens to be, the holiday is celebrated with marigolds, parades, and tons of favorite food. Photos of dead family are set out in honored places. People dress up as skeletons, decorated, though, with riots of colorful flowers, sugar skulls, and there's music and dancing. The history of this holiday is complicated. Some say it predates Western colonialism. Some say it does not, that it is fully European. whatever. The point I want to lift up today is that it is this juxtaposition, the combination, the intentional bringing together of the vibrantly alive with the beloved dead together in celebration, a celebration of death and the gift that life can be. As a minister, I have the honor and privilege of leading memorial services for our beloved members and friends. These services are sad, and they should be. Someone has been lost to us, someone who was loved. There are a lot of feelings at these memorials. So many things said and unsaid, so many memories and so much grief. But while grief is necessary and important, I like to remind the visitors and guests that while we have come to remember someone who died, we are also there to remember someone who lived, someone who walked in our shoes, ate our food, wore our clothes, drove our roads, learned in our schools, danced in our rain, shoveled our snow. Someone who was here, someone who was loved, someone who loved, someone who changed the world, even if just a little bit, the world that we now get to live in. And as long as we remember, as long as we are here to celebrate some bit of their life, some gift of their love continues. I am not Mexican. I'm not a lot of things, although I sometimes have to remind myself that it is true. I am also, though, a human being. Once upon a time, I was not here. Now I am. Someday I will not be again. But while I am here, and while I am this great many things, imperfect and temporary among them, I know that I am here because of those who came before me. We are the wildest dreams of our ancestors. We are the manifestation of their blood, their sweat, their hopes, and their dreams. Who am I not to dance with joy at their gifts? Someday, our descendants will look back and wonder at who we were, what we did and said and loved and hoped and dreamed. They will have many unkind things to say, I'm sure, just as we have for our own ancestors. But if we're lucky, they too will get to dance our stories, our memories, our lives, our names, and the gifts that we gave to them. We are, if nothing else, we are links in a great chain. Death, life, one great human chain. Our ancestors, a cloud of purpose. Our descendants, a dream of possibility. And today, there is us dancing between them. And that's the holiday. So, in the coming days, my friends, dance. Whether in body or in spirit, dance. You are mortal, and one day you will die, and that is scary. Maybe it should be scary. And maybe that's why Halloween is spooky. Maybe these reminders, these mementos, these prods, these prompts, maybe they will help just a little bit. Help us remember something we tend to forget. Because today, we are alive. And that is the sweetest candy of all. Blessed be my little goblins, maybe we will meet again. Merry we have met, merry we will part. But my hope is that we will meet again here. And be happy, and be present, and be mindful. In the meantime, happy Halloween.